I finished rigging my VTuber model. This process was extremely fun, extremely tedious, extremely challenging, and extremely rewarding. It took me quite a while, and you'll find out about that in the end. But I started off with the most notable part of your face, which is the eye. And it's usually the part that people will look at the most when they're looking at your lovely, amazing animated face. And so I was watching a tutorial at the same time as I was rigging my eye. And just for ease of access, I had my front hairs disabled. So if you see a lot of bald sentient, I do not apologize. But anyways, rigging the eyes took me a good amount of hours. And I had a goal in mind. I wanted these eyes to be jiggly. I wanted them to look as if they're made out of water. Okay, I wanted all of that. Because even though I knew it wasn't going to look as professional as I wanted it to, I had a vision in my mind and I needed that to become reality. So I watched multiple different tutorials from different people who had that same kind of jiggly thing that I was going for. And it seemed to have worked in my favor because you'll see the finished product anyways. But I truly spent a good amount of time on the eyes, which is, you know, to be expected. It's normal, it's necessary. And I'm happy with how they came out. I'm not gonna lie to you. It took a lot of tweaking. Sometimes I will come back days later and I would see how the eyes are moving and I'm like, okay, that looks like trash. So I need to start it all over again. And this has happened with every single thing that I've rigged. Whether it's the face, it's the hair, it doesn't matter. I always come back later and I'm like, this is not looking how I want it to do. Let's revamp it. But anyways, the eyes, gorgeous. Probably my favorite part of the drawing process as well. I love how I colored it. I've never ever colored eyes as nicely as I did this one, so I'm glad I unlocked that potential just for this little adventure and project. But yes, I had a great amount of fun rigging the eyes. With learning Live 2D, there is so much that goes into every single thing that you have to do when it comes to VTuber models. Like I can't even begin to over or underestimate just how much you have to know, the shortcuts that can help you, and how to make things look better. And what really caught me off guard the most was that every single little movement that you see, whether it's looking left, right, turning your head left, right, looking up and down, everything, every single movement, something needs to be rigged for it. And if you have a lot of stuff on your model, let me just tell you, you're in for a very interesting amount of time. You're gonna have a very high workload. And I did not want that for mine, which is why I made mine as simple as possible. I didn't make any of the clothes movable because I knew I wasn't going to have that happen. But I knew focus is on the face and I wanted my bunny and the bunny's there. The bunny's not gonna move, but it's there. And all of I think I'll yap more about this when we get to the head section, but there are so many angles that exist in the human body that it's just too much. It's too much. But I pulled through in the end. I think I really had some issues with how I rigged the eyes because I drew it in a way that the pupil was separate from the iris, and every single tutorial that I watched, all of them had the pupil and the iris, and all the iris designs, they were all on the same layer. So I had to do extra work to have those two things act and move as if they were one. Even though they weren't. And I didn't use glue, I didn't use anything like that. I just was like, okay, this is how they moved it, so let me do my best to mimic it and move it in a similar manner. And I think it worked out well. It's very good, and nobody can tell that the people and the iris are not part of each other before I told you guys, obviously. But yes, eyes, gorgeous, lovely, amazing. And I streamed all this, well, most of it, actually. I streamed most of it on Twitch. So when I first so here's what happened. The first time I opened Live 2D, I opened it and I made sure that my model was in there and everything was fine because I was going to be streaming the rigging later in the day. So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't showing any sort of sensitive information or anything. Like, I needed to be prepared. And so I got a little bit ahead of myself, and then I started making warp deformers and stuff for the eyes, and then I almost started properly rigging it, and I was like, no, we gotta wait until stream. And so I did. It was lots of fun. I think the first stream we spent we spent 3 hours rigging the eyes. It was 3 hours well spent. I feel like the amount of time that I spent on this model, it really could have been shortened. But also it's my first time, so I'm not going to be too hard on myself. But really, I feel like I could have spent a lot less time. But you know, these things happen. As time passes and whatnot, I will get better, I will get faster, it will become easier. But it was really hard and really difficult, especially since Live 2D is such a complicated program. But people are so lovely and amazing on the internet with their tutorials and breaking it down to me like I'm a baby that was born yesterday. And I have nothing but extreme gratitude to every single person who has ever made a tutorial for Live 2D, okay? Especially if it's been a good tutorial, which most of the time it is. And it just means so much to me that I could make my eyes be as jiggly as possible. The more important thing to note is that physics is a whole other ballgame. So we all know how, you know, making the model move this left and right, up and down, making it move is one thing. And then all of the physics, the extra stuff, if you don't really know the parameters, all of the little tiny numbers to make your stuff look good, it's gonna look very janky, okay? And that is what I dealt with a lot, especially with the eye moving left and right and the eye blinking. It did not look good. It looked actually very terrible. So I had to look at so many videos and slow them down so I could really look and stare at those physics settings and be like, oh yeah, this is how they did it. That's why mine looks like that. And it was really good, helpful, and I'm super grateful to people that upload their workflow processes online for others to ogle. It's really good. So what's currently occurring is me rigging the parameters for the eye jiggle. So when I blink, you know how I was talking about making it all bouncy and stuff? This is basically where all the bounciness comes from. So when I blink and maybe one of my eyes moves certain ways, I wanted it to kind of have that boing kind of movement. And so I was watching a video that was showing me how to do that, and you know, it's all the squash and stretch, basic animation principles. Live 2D rigging and just rigging in general is really just animation. And then finally it moved on to the hair. I do have a bit of a confession to make. I did not record the entirety of my rigging process because here's what was happening while I was rigging. I would have a YouTube video up on like a tutorial, and then I would be watching it and I would be fixing what I had previously rigged incorrectly, and I'd be learning stuff, so I would pause my recording. And then when I'm done with the learning parts and I'm just doing regular rigging again, I would forget to re-record, and then I'd notice, oh, I'm not recording right now. That's not good. And then it's like a real big jump in position from where I was before and where I left you guys. But yes, anyways, I rigged the head looking up wrong this time because I was trying to make it look too realistic. Meanwhile, I was just like, no, that's not how I wanted it to look. The chin looked super weird. And so I just looked at the tutorial video again and I was like, oh, that's how she did it. And then I did it. But I didn't really copy everything that the YouTuber did, like word for word, bang for bang. And I'm glad I didn't, because I don't have an anime art style. Like, I wasn't trying to go for the typical anime YouTuber person kind of, like, you know, I wasn't going for that vibe, basically. I just wanted to have a model that moves. And let me tell you, there's like maybe three videos out there that help you rig for non-anime like models. And it was really, oh my gosh, I have a lot to say about this topic, but it was really stressful trying to rig these things, and also be watching the tutorial videos and be like, well, I can't use that because my model doesn't do that, it doesn't look like that. And it especially comes in play with the hair, which is my favorite part of my model besides the eyes. But I struggled so much with it, and you'll find out. So yes, but the nose on the head angles, because I have these two little dots instead of just a line, I had to like move the mesh in certain ways so that it looks as though the nose is being pushed this way and you can't see it fully open. All of these optical illusions. It worked out in the end, but it took me a little bit to get that, and I had to redo so many of these things so many times. And I decided to just rig the hair first properly before trying any of the highlights. I wanted it to look a certain way. I wanted everything to move separately and move on their own. And so I was like, okay, that's fine. Since I'm going to rig them all one by one, let me just do the big masses first, which is a really good advice tip that you should take if you're planning on rigging. If you want to start rigging, do not start focusing on details. Please just do the big things first, and then you focus on the details after. Anyways, with the head and the corner angles, I struggled a lot with keeping the the skin of the face, like the actual skin of the face. I struggled keeping it in the lines of the head outline. So I watched a video that was saying that I could cut the head outline and the skin of the face and make them be different layers and not be together. And that's really good advice, actually. It is pretty helpful if you want like it to move for some reason. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing, so I did that as well. And I kind of regretted it because it really just gave me extra work and I had to learn how to glue. So how I fixed the weird issue of the skin and the face outline not being together was just gluing them together, and I redid that so many times because I kept doing it wrong. I didn't know what I was doing, and then I finally got it in the end, thankfully. But it was not an easy task. And also, the next time I'm ever rigging a model for myself or I'm drawing a model for myself, I'm never doing that cat face mouth because it's so hard to rig. Like, I kept doing a mix of cat face mouth with regular mouth movements, and I was wondering why it looked wrong. But I made it work in the end, don't worry, you'll find out, you'll see. But it's just not easy, it's not great, especially not for a first time rigger person. It was a lot of fun time at all, and with the face angles and the mouth X, I suffered. But we'll get to that in a bit. But here we're just focusing on the face angles for now because that's the most important part. And I kept having this issue with the irises not meshing correctly when I turned the face angle certain ways, and I never actually found a way to fix that in the end, so it's still on my model. If you can notice it, just send me $10 and I'll fix it. I'm just kidding, obviously. Yeah, I did not really like how I did the bottom left and the bottom right face angles. I think I made them turn a strange way versus what the actual angle is supposed to look like. So my head is just really low, and even though I'm way past the point of rigging it right now, I keep thinking about how to fix it, and I keep trying to fix it when I open the model up randomly, but it just doesn't get fixed. My eye is just not working well enough to fix the issue, which sucks. But anyways, we rigged the what's it called? The hair bangs onto the head. I don't really call them bangs because they're not really bangs, but they kind of are at the same time. It's weird because when I have my hair out like this, I give myself bangs because I like how it looks. Anyways, with the mouth rigging, we finally got into the mouth rigging. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. I redid this at least 3 times, and by this I mean everything. Everything you're seeing me do right now. The mouth opening, the mouth being sad and opening, I redid it 3 times because I don't know what was wrong with me or what was wrong with my model. It just could not look good, and my issue was really just bad meshing. Don't worry, when I'm done with this segment, you will see that the mouth moves a lot easier and I don't have to be tweaking every little thing because I learned how to mesh it properly. So I kept having this issue where I would turn my head a certain way and open my mouth, and you could still see the inner parts of the mouth. And I'm just like, why is this happening to me? And I made the rookie mistake of having the upper mouth skin be rigged, sorry, not rigged, but be drawn on the same layer as the mouth line. So whenever I moved the mouth skin, it would move the mouth line as well. And it was just it was a big headache for me, honestly, and I did not have a fun time. But anyways, here's me rigging mouth X. You know how I said the mouth was the worst part? I mean it. I mean it with my whole soul. There was nothing in this whole rigging process that gave me as much grief as the mouth, and especially mouth X. I don't know who asked me to rig it. I wanted to, because look, anything that looks cute or fancy or makes me look, just gives me a little bit more work to do, I'm kind of going to do it. And in the tutorial, they were doing it, so I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it too because you're teaching me. But anyways, mouth X, I don't even want to talk about it. Like, There's so much that I just did not record because it was so painful. It was so painful to me to rig this thing so many times and I would still not have good results, and I was just so irritated. I wanted to scrap it all together, but I was like, no, we'll just keep it in. Whatever we have there, we'll just fix it for the future. But I was not happy. Don't worry, I fixed it in the end, but I was really suffering. But anyways, with the brows, I had a lot of fun. They were pretty easy to do, pretty normal, standard stuff, and not too many parameters. And they're just the best part of the model because they really add to the expressiveness and such. Oh yes, I also did learn how to rig the breathing. I didn't know how to do that, so I looked up like 3 different videos. And even though it was really simple, it still kept confusing me until I actually did it. And then I put in the parameter and the physics and I was like, oh, that's what that looks like. Anyways, we move on to Suffering and Pain, aka the hair highlight. I'm really happy and proud of myself, previous drawing sensei, who remembered to cut all the highlight pieces into separate things, because before I properly finished the drawing of the model, I had every single highlight piece in just one layer. And then I was thinking, if I want to turn my head certain ways, it's not going to be easy or fun for me to rig all of this stuff as if it was just one object. And so I focused mainly on the bangs because that was going to be moving the most. I did have other hair pieces in the folder, but I didn't use them in the final rig because I liked how things were looking with just the base highlights, the base bangs, and the rest of the hair. This was really hard for me to do, I'm not gonna lie, because I didn't know how to get it to have the effect I wanted, and there were no tutorial videos out for this kind of hair texture, so I was literally just doing it on my own, doing my best and hoping that it looked at least decent. And I'm very happy with how it came out because it looks very 3D, which is what I was hoping for. I was really hoping that it would have that kind of 3D effect, and it did. I understand why people use models and draw models that have like type 1 kind of hair, but I don't. So I wasn't going to use a VTuber that was going to have features that I don't have, you know. It just, like, obviously I don't have pink eyes, but that's just eye color. It's not hair texture. It's not extremely different from how I wanted my animated self to look. So with the hair angles, I didn't really have too much of an issue. It was just moving mesh points about. And I think that is literally the only way and the only reason why it looks so 3D, because it looks like it's protruding and shrinking in parts. And I didn't know that that was a thing. So when I finally started doing it, I was like, damn, I look good. My hair looks 3D. I like how this is looking. And it was much fun to rig the hair. I actually did have a nice time with this. Wow, what a surprise. I had a nice time rigging something in this live 2D thing. But this hair did not come without its own issues, okay? I'll tell you that for free. It was not just a nice smooth ride, no. Because here came hair angles. Head angles. Same thing. Head angles in the XYs. Oh my gosh, it was so bad. Because I would turn my head while I'm rigging and it's fine, and then I go into the physics menu and it's like, oh, there's a bald spot. So I had to, it's not shown in this part of the video, but I had to rig the bald cap that I already had set up because I knew this was going to be a thing, and the tutorial video that I had watched was like, this is going to be a thing, so you're going to want to have a bald cap. So I made the bald cap, and I'm glad I did, because as you can see, I'm currently rigging the, what's it called, jiggle parts? Is it the jiggle? The flowy parts of the hair, where they move left and right and stuff, and when you turn your head, it turns with you, and it's basically the eye jiggle, but for hair this time. I had so much issue with doing the side hair bang things. Even in this video, it doesn't show you what it looks like in the final product because I tweaked it even after recording everything, because I just did not like how it was looking, and I didn't do it right for some reason. I don't know why. I did see that I didn't do it right, but I'm glad I caught it before the debut. But anyways, we did all that, and it was kind of hard to make it move like my regular hair texture, but I'm still happy with how it looks like, even though it doesn't really look realistic. It still looks good, so that's kind of what I wanted. And you can see while I'm rigging here that my skull starts to show But it's okay, the ball cap takes care of that in the end. And I really loved how I rigged this stuff. I did up the physics in the end because it wasn't as bouncy as I wanted. Look, I told you guys in the beginning, I wanted my model to be bouncy, jiggly eyes, whatnot, all of the stuff that everybody likes in the other more popular VTuber models. It wasn't gonna look exactly like theirs, but I wanted it to look similar, and look similar it did, because my model is nicely bouncy. Like I don't have a lot of things on the model that move that much, but the hair and the eyes, they're very nicely bouncy and they get the job done, and I'm happy. So that was lots of fun to rig. I think that might have been my second favorite part of the rigging, because I told you that rigging the hair was my favorite. But yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm just a hair fan, a hair rigging fan. I don't know. Rigging the movements of the hair when it's moving, and then the highlights of the eyes, is beautiful. Love it. But my enemy is the Z angles. Ooh, the Z angles. Okay, so the Z angles were fine for like general head movement. Like, okay, we're going left to right. That's so cute. Wow, awesome. When it came to the hair highlights, oh my gosh, it was a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare. I'm not even sure if I recorded the main bulk of the process of me fixing the Z angles and the XYZ angles. So all three of them together in motion. With the hair highlights, it was really not easy to do. And I struggled a lot. I feel like I spent like a good 2 hours on just fixing like maybe 2 pieces of the hair highlights, just two of them, and making sure that they looked right in every single angle. So you have to move it to the right on the X angle, to the left, and then you have to do that when it's up and then down, and then on the Z axis. It's like, oh my gosh, just a nightmare. And I was already so tuckered out from rigging so much, and I forgot about the Z angle, and then when I finally put it in, it was just so much more work, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just want to take off all the highlights and just leave everything like that. But I'm glad I didn't, because it looked good now, and then all my hard work and effort paid off in the end, so I'm super happy about that. Yeah, I really liked how cute it looked when I would move my head from side to side, and I don't know, I think I'm allowed to feel proud of myself and feel extraordinarily excited, because there are not enough words to even explain to you just how excited I am to continue streaming with the VTuber model that I made and rigged. Oh my god, I made and rigged it. And to also have it appear in my videos, like to just be a YouTuber who's, okay, well, it's in the name obviously, but like, you know, a virtual YouTuber, a VTuber basically. And the halo. This was last minute because I forgot. Because I spent so much time being bald in Live 3D. And being without hair, I always had everything else covered. So I looked at my actual art again, and I was like, oh, I haven't made my halo move with my hair either. And so I decided to start rigging that. It was kind of a little bit tedious because the meshes would look weird when I tried to get that 3D effect. But I guess it worked in the end because I kind of got a little bit of an optical illusion effect. So if you look closely, you'll be like, oh, that's not great. But if you just glance once, you'd be like, wow, that halo is moving really cool. That's kind of what I wanted to go for. And then I just did some V-bridger mouth rigging in the end, because even though I'm not going to be able to afford V-bridger right off the bat, because I want to start off affordable and not break the bank, I still wanted to have all of these things rigged before I properly stopped rigging. So I wanted to just have everything done before the live 2D trial is over, and I'd have to buy it again just to add in extra stuff. But as of right now, I think that is about everything that I wanted to do with my rig, and I'm really happy with how it came out. I didn't focus on the body at all because I knew it was not going to be seen besides the very first debut day or on random rare occasions. In total, this rigging session took me from the 21st of October to the 31st, but the actual rigging that I did took me 9 days. So this was 9 days worth of work with only 1 day that I did not rig at all because I was out touching grass. And this took many hours. I wish I knew just how many hours, but minimum 15 for my first ever rig. the fact that this is like the baseline is so scary to me, and also so exciting because that only means I can only get better from here on out. This was a really fun experience and a very, very humbling process. And I am extremely happy with how the end results are. If you want to see my vtuber model moving and existing, you should probably come stop by the debut stream that'll be happening Monday, November the 4th, 6 p.m. GMT, or if it's +1 right now, I don't know, daylight savings messes up and whatnot. But hop onto my Twitch, it'll also be on YouTube at the exact same time. Special event, which means multi-stream. I just want to say a gigantic thank you for watching. Really, it means the world to me. If you want to support me, I have links in my description, so please feel free to peruse them. And this has been an extremely fun project. I'm so happy it's finally over and I can finally go back to drawing again. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Oh my gosh.